Alright, before we start this video, I want to put in a little mini theory at the start, a sort of prediction theory, if you will. So currently there are two upcoming games for Bendy this year, Bendy the Caged and Bendy Lone Wolf, both of them taking place during Dark Revival. In Dark Revival, Boris is seen in two blink and you miss it moments where he's doing something. It's implied in the archives that Lone Wolf will be the adventure that he goes on, but in one of those moments, it shows Boris crawling an event in the Gent building, and we know that Bendy the Cage is about Henry escaping the Gent building, but we don't know how he's going to escape from his cell. So, my theory is that at the end of Lone Wolf, Boris will be the one to open Henry's cell, which will lead into the events of Bendy the Cage, almost like a part 1 and part 2 of each other. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Just wanted to get this out before one of them releases. Back to the video. So, when people are talking about Bendy theories, I feel like there's something that I don't really see people discuss. That being, how does the ink machine work? Like, what determines a person from becoming an ink creature or a cartoon character? Why are there so many Borises and Butcher gangs compared to Bendys and Alices? And how the heck do these happen? Well, I think I have a solution for those questions. First off, let's get this misconception out of the way first. Yes, the creatures in the cycle are former workers of the studio. I think a lot of people got confused when Memory Joey said that Henry wasn't the real Henry, which I don't believe, but that's a video for another day. But because of that, I think a lot of people thought that everyone in the cycle were copies. But no, Joey did experiment on his workers. First off, Gent Corporation is a real company, and there is a lot of evidence that they did some very shady shit, which some of them were definitely experimenting on Joey's workers. Second of all, there were a lot of tapes in Bendy and the Ink Machine that confirmed that Joey were experimenting on his employees. But how did they end up in the cycle, I hear that one asshole in the audience ask? Well, in Bendy the Lost Ones and Fade to Black, it is told that their souls are attracted to the Ink Machine, and when the cycle was born, their souls were sent to it. And yeah, I know I just said that the books aren't canon in the literal last video, but this is kind of the best and only reason we have to how they got in the cycle. It's almost like the books could have and were a good piece of media to expand on the lore. Anyways, with that out of the way, what determines whether or not an experiment is successful? Well, if I had to take a gander, which you probably came here for, it might be because of the individual soul that they're using. The closer the person is to the cartoon character itself, the more likely they are to be a success. And if they're not a success, they turn into a lost one or a searcher. And the only reason why there are only two Alice Angels is because Alice is the only one of the characters with a voice actor. So it stands to reason that the only two voice actors for Alice Angel would be the only two successes. As for why there's only one Bendy, that one's a bit more obvious. The only time they tried to create Bendy, they created him without a soul, which led to the creation of the Ink Demon, which caused them to be too afraid to do any more attempts to create Bendy. I guess the only other question is, why do the Butcher Gang look like that? Well, I think that's an even easier question. It's heavily implied that Alice Angel tortured them and used them for spare parts. Although I love how she tortured and mutilated each member of the Butcher Gang in such meticulous ways, but then when she got to another group of them, she just, yeah, okay, so I'm just going to do the exact same thing to the next Butcher Gang as I did to the other one, because I just ran out of it. Hey, get back! Okay, I think that's a pretty good explanation. Kind of a bit shorter than I expected. Oh, you guys. Alright, so everything I talked about does work for the most part, except for these guys who, don't worry, I can fix this. They all have an explanation somewhere, I think. Oh god, I'm gonna have to spend the rest of the video trying to make an explanation for each of them, aren't I? So while Sammy may be an ink creature, he doesn't resemble any of the Searchers and Lost Ones, and he also has 4 fingers on his hand instead of the regular 5, almost like he's an in-between of an ink creature and a toon. So why is he the only one? Well, in Dreams Comes to Life, Sammy starts consuming the ink machine's special ink, so maybe coming into contact with it caused things to go wrong, causing that to happen. Yes, the books aren't canon, but it's very possible that something like this happened in the game's canon. It's almost like the books could have and were a good piece of media to expand upon the lore. God damn. Alright, so this thing kind of just showed up in chapter 5 of the original Ink Machine, but its origins aren't really told, so where did it come from? Well, in chapter 4, there's a giant arm that would have probably been used for Bendy Land, so that means that the Bendy Hand is the other arm of the statue that ended up in the sewer. That's it, that's the explanation. On to the next one. Do I even have to explain why Norman is out of place? As far as I'm concerned, there are 3 possible ways of how he looks like that. First one is that Norman is actually a lost one who found the projector and speaker and used it as sort of a means of survival. Secondly, when he was sacrificed to the ink machine, the projector and speaker just fell on him. Finally, the third is that when Joey created the cycle, he redesigned Norman to become the projectionist, since Joey has been shown to be able to redesign characters. I don't know which is the best, so you decide which one is the most likely. Sean is an anomaly because he is like a regular searcher, but big. So how did he become bigger than the rest of them? I don't know. No, I don't have any good answers. I guess maybe because Sean has a bigger part to play in the studio than the rest of the employees, he became bigger. I'm just gonna say that Joey redesigned him when he created the cycle. It's a cop-out, but it works. This guy is definitely the weirdest one out of all of them. I don't think you could get any more out there than Bertram. But why is he like this? Well, he implied that he stayed out of spite, so maybe no, he would have to have gone through the machine to look like that. Maybe he's... No, I guess the only real explanation for it is that he looks like that because he was redesigned by Joey for the cycle. In fact, all these guys can just use that excuse, which kind of feels like a cop-out. Especially for Bertram, since he was implied to have stayed after the studio went down out of spite. But to be fair, logically, it wouldn't have worked even without the cycle, since he definitely didn't stay because of his own accord, because he has turned into a fucking carnival ride. It's kind of a low point to end on. Huh. Well, that was my theory. Hope you liked it. If you have any... Oh no, I'm not talking about you. You and your weird teleporting powers and your weird, confusing implications that not only ghosts, but also City and Borkis are canon. Oh god, that is a massive rabbit hole that I have to make a video about. Anyway, if you think you have an alternative explanation, please comment it below. I'm really curious. Stay tuned though, I got a big project coming next. But for now, I've been your host. This has been a thing, and I hope you... Oh, what? Ah! What the hell? Huh? What the fuck? Are you gonna leave or... Ah!